Now, as for the women who are too old to menstruate or don't have it for other reasons, their waiting period to dispel any doubts is 3 months. Any woman who is pregnant will wait for the birth of her child, and then her waiting period will end. A man who divorces his pregnant wife must pay child and spousal support to her before and after the child is born, though the father does have a right to be consulted on issues regarding his children. Automatically gets custody of any children below the age of 8. Afterwards, the children must be consulted with about whom they want to live. Subhanallah. Islam is deeply equitable and fair when it comes to rights of men and women, especially within divorce. Women do not get left high and dry, and men are not expected to go out of their way and to continue to be tied up in a situationship. The child is kept #1 priority, and their opinions, their feelings matter. Americans, we have for a very long time not even allowed polygamy legally here. It's been pretty widely accepted that marriage is between one man and one woman overall here in the United States. It's not done to save women anymore or uplift them. Yes, we can evolve, we can always do better, but you cannot go back on the minimum obligation. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hi, hey, hello. My name is Morgan Miller Maqsood. I am a convert to Islam, and I have been sharing some surahs from the Qur'an with the tafsir from this translation of the Qur'an, the Holy Qur'an in today's English by Yahya Imreg. This translation of the Qur'an is one of my favorites because it does dive into the tafsir and it does have so much depth and knowledge, as well as the verbiage that's used is pretty phenomenal whenever you're looking at a translation from Arabic to English. There's a lot of curiosity surrounding the Qur'an and Islam and us Muslims and our practice as of right now, a lot in part due to what is happening over in Palestine. Our brothers and sisters are showing the world what it means to be true Muslims, and they're inspiring the world to understand what Islam truly is and what it means. And with that comes a lot of questions. As a convert, inshallah, I always pray that my journey and my experience and my knowledge and my questions can lead me to helping other people. So, Bismillah, with no further ado, can you read Surah At-Taliq, Ayat 4? Absolutely, inshallah. I'll do you one further and I'll read a little bit more than that. All right. I'll start by reading the ayat and the ayat underneath it, and then I'll read you the tafsir. This focuses heavily on divorce. Now, as for the women who are too old to menstruate or don't have it for other reasons, their waiting period to dispel any doubts is 3 months. Any woman who is pregnant will wait for the birth of her child, and then her waiting period will end. Whoever is mindful of Allah should know that He will make his affair an easy one. This is the command of Allah, and He's sending down to you. Whoever is mindful of Allah will have his shortcomings erased and his reward increased. Support women in their waiting period in your same standard of living, according to your means, and don't harass them in the hopes of making their situation worse. If they're pregnant, pay their expenses until they give birth. Then afterwards, if they were to wean the infant by themselves, then compensate them. And consult with each other fairly on issues related to the child. Subhanallah. That's beautiful. Now let's dive into the tafsir. Bismillah. Ubay ibn Ka'ab said to the Prophet, after the verse in the chapter of the cow concerning the waiting period were revealed, some people in Medina said that there were still some women whose waiting periods were not mentioned, specifically the old, the young, and the pregnant, who might be left widows before their baby is born. This passage was revealed in response. A man who divorces his pregnant wife must pay child and spousal support to her before and after the child is born, though the father does have a right to be consulted on issues regarding his children. Spousal support ends if the woman marries another or when the child is weaned, though the father must still remain liable for at least some of the expenses directly related to his child when they're below the age of puberty. The mother automatically gets custody of any children below the age of 8. Afterwards, the children must be consulted with about whom they want to live. Subhanallah. So I actually have had it brought to my attention multiple times where people have tried to actually use this, saying like, oh, just so you know, if you're a woman in Islam, like if your husband leaves you or you want to leave your husband, you're going to lose your child. No. Islam is deeply equitable and fair when it comes to rights of men and women, especially within divorce. Women do not get left high and dry, and men are not expected to go out of their way and to continue to be tied up in a situationship. The child is kept #1 priority, and their opinions, their feelings matter. Inshallah, I have done Allah proud, and I have shared the message properly with you guys and my knowledge with you guys. And if I have misspoken or if I have misled, Allahumma innaka afuwan tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So the question being posed here could be answered with a lot of different responses. Hold on, my camera looks... What I'm going to focus on, though, is your question regarding the timelessness of the Qur'an, and you're using polygamy as an example. So the main question being posed here is, how is, for example, something like polygamy that was rampant and actually really problematic for a lot of people and women back then, still relevant today for those of us who, like, for example, live here in the Western world? As Americans, we have for a very long time not even allowed polygamy legally here. It's been pretty widely accepted that marriage is between one man and one woman overall here in the United States for a very, very, very long time. And marriage is not just something that happens out of convenience. It's not something that is done to really form political ties or tribal unions. It's not done to save women anymore or uplift them. Typically, it's done out of intimacy and a genuine love and desire to want to be together the rest of your lives. So to us, the idea of marrying more than one person, majority of us, it's like, what? My phone and my glasses is driving me crazy. Anyways, we here operate solely on the idea, for the most part, 99.99% of Americans, I think, that marriage is because you genuinely love each other and you feel a deep connection with that person and you want to have intimacy with that person. Now, true, we can backtrack to Islamic history, to the history of the Arab tribes of that day, and we can say that that was genuinely not the case. You seem to understand that now. I think this is where we have to expand our understanding of the world as a whole now. It's because us as Americans have that idea and experience that as a whole when it comes to marriage within our society doesn't mean that there are not people, tribes, nations, cultural ideas, ideologies, etc., all over the world who do not operate within that way. The Qur'an makes sure to make it clear to all men from all time periods, all cultures, anywhere, anytime, any place. Yes, if by chance that works for you, if the country, the place that you're in legally allows it, you can take up to 4 wives. I think it's important to note here that there are people, there are women, and there are men who do desire to be in this type of relationship. I am not one of them. I will murder someone, but they do exist. So Islam says, fine, if that is the case, do it. However, it makes it extremely clear, if you cannot provide for them financially and give them an equitable relationship and marriage, you better take only one baby. So in the areas where this is still relevant, women are protected. There is still this ruling, this obligation in place, and men cannot take advantage of them. Alhamdulillah. But in places like the Western world, in America, this isn't something that we really worry about. Now, maybe one day it could be relevant again, or maybe we're in a situation where it might come to play. You never know. And that's why the Qur'an says this is permanent, this is timeless, you can never go back on this. Yes, we can evolve, we can always do better, but you cannot go back on the minimum obligation. I was trying to explain this all while taking care of my sick toddler. So that is just my perspective. It's what I have come to understand and know. I am not a sheikha, but alhamdulillah, I have dove into this and I've asked lots of questions and talked to many sheikhs and sheikhas about the topic in general. So, subhanAllah, I do hope that helps. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.